Welcome to the Patriotic Dragon radio program, the show to bring open, honest, thoughtful conversation back, allowing individuals and groups to be a part of a better, brighter future. As always, the views expressed on the program are not necessarily those of the guest, WYYZ, Pickens County GOP, or the sponsor. The sponsor of this month is Aspire to Inspire Before You Expire.com, a website to give people and a place to express their aspirations and the people who gave them the drive to accomplish them. Our guest this week is Secretary of State Brian Kemp. Brian, thank you for being on with us.
Well, it's great to be on with you. Looking forward to it.
All right. The thing I want to talk about, and I know the listeners would like to know a little bit more about you than just your bio. My question, I guess, would be, what made you decide to enter this field of state government?
Well, besides my wife and our 3 teenage daughters, probably the most thing I'm proud of is that I'm still a small business owner. I have been for 25 or 30 years now, I guess, since I got out of the University of Georgia, and really had started acquiring a little bit of real estate even, right when I was getting out of college, and continue that into my business career when I started my own company, and that's evolved into being a owner, either a part owner of a bunch of small businesses. And that's really what got me involved in politics. I never ran for anything at the local level. I was real involved in the community, helping other candidates and with Chamber of Commerce and Home Builders Association and things like that. But through that involvement, I saw how important it was to have good people in government, just people that had good fiscally conservative ideas, but also had a lot of good common sense. And most small business owners have that. And that's really what I bring to the Capitol every day, even in the Secretary of State's office. We still have many active businesses that I'm involved in. Certainly not running the day-to-day, because this is a full-time job, running the day-to-day operations of the Secretary of State's office, and I'm blessed to have some really good partners and my wife helping me with some of the things that we're still involved in. But I am involved in a lot of the decision-making that goes on, financial decisions. So I'm in tune with exactly what's going on out there in the real world. I mean, I understand how regulation, taxes, all those type things have an impact on not only small business owners, but all business owners. And at the end of the day, that really affects all Georgians' livelihood and how we're doing as a state. So I kind of agree with Governor Deal when I got in office that we need to continue to work to make Georgia the most competitive state in the country to do business in. And if people have got a good job and they're making a good living, then our state's going to be a good one to live in and a good place to raise their family in.
Okay. And when I'll answer this question, so what is your background other than being a Bulldog fan?
Yeah, well, I grew up in Athens, went to Clark Central High School, stayed there, went to the University of Georgia. I graduated with an agriculture degree, believe it or not, Bachelor of Science in Ag, and I had been working when I was in school with a contractor in town. I did acoustical ceiling work, and then started working on with another guy that was just building a lot of different projects, houses, multifamily, and really just doing carpentry work and whatever they needed me to do. And when I got out of school, went to work with him for about 7 years and did a little of everything. Literally, I spent 2 years in Statesboro doing a big project we had down there, basically running the day-to-day of that, and learned a great deal. And then I came back and started my own company in 1993. And even when I was working for this other gentleman, I had been acquiring some rental property that I had started managing. So I had actually set corporations up to own that rental property in. So, I got the experience of dealing with insurance and taxes and government regulations and, permitting and loan closings and all those type things. And I started my own construction company and development company in 93, as I said, and I spent, I was still doing that hot and heavy when I decided to run for the Senate back in the early 2000s. And when I did get in the legislature, I kind of cut back on our building, but by that time we had acquired a good bit of rental property. I'd gotten involved in a stone business. We lay rock and sell rock on a stone yard we've got in Jackson County with a friend of mine, and So I was involved in that and some other, I was involved with starting a small community bank that's still doing very well, and also involved now in some ag-related businesses. We've got a oil crushing business that I was one of the initial investors in, serve on the board there, still very involved in a lot of decision making that's going on, and so I'm excited about the things I got going on in my business career, but also about what we got going on in the Secretary of State's office. But I've stayed in Athens the whole time. Marty and the girls and myself, we still live in Athens. We've got a timber farm that's about 20 miles from our home, which is on the northeast side of town, and I've got a place in Atlanta, so I stay over here some. But we like living in Athens and raising our girls there, and so that's where we'll plan on staying.
I know. I'm having my daughter there at the college, and she's there for vet school, and my wife, now that we've been over there for the last year back and forth, as I rehabbed a house that we bought. So I know what Athens-Clarke County permitting can be.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's changed a lot over the years. I tell people, and this is one of the things that really drove me to politics and government service, was when I first started building, the easiest thing you could do was go get the permit. The hard part was building the building. Now it's exactly reverse. It's almost gotten to a science now with building and the skills that people have and the different materials, but the permitting's gotten harder. I mean, sometimes it takes longer to get a permit now than it does to actually do the work on what your project is. And a lot of that is, understandable, but also I think a lot of it can be over-regulation and just not streamlined processes. And so I take that mentality of, we don't want that in the Secretary of State's office. We want to regulate at the proper level, and we do some of that in our, professional licensing, regulating charities and securities, but we try not to over-regulate and also make the processes that people are going through when they do register or do try to get a license or file corporation documents or annual registrations, make that seamless and easy for people to use.
Sure. Good. With the election season upon us, what are some of the requirements or changes that citizens need to be aware of for the 2016 primary and the general election?
Well, I'd probably say the biggest thing, not a whole lot has changed. One of the big things, and it's been out there for quite a while, is we now have online voter registration in the state of Georgia. You can do that through our website, which is sos.ga.gov. We've also got a free mobile app that you can download. You search under GA Votes. Don't spell out Georgia, just do GA and then Votes. That app has the online voter registration on there, so if you have to have a Georgia driver's license to be able to register online. And the reason behind that is because if you have a driver's license, then we know that your citizenship has been checked. You meet the age requirements. We have your photo ID. We've got your electronic signature. It's really a more secure way to register people to vote than paper applications, because sometimes you don't know where those applications came from and who those people are. But you can register to vote. If you were to move, get a new residence, you need to change your voter registration to your new address. If you'll just update your driver's license, which you're supposed to do as well, then you can go online and do a change of address to your new address that's on your driver's license. We also have the My Voter page on the app, which is all your individual voting information once you are registered, like where your precinct is. You can download sample ballots off of the app, and as well as the MVP page on our website. So it's a great tool for voters. It's got your elected officials on there and things of that nature. So it's a really good tool for people to use. So that's really one of the newer things, is that we now have online voter registration, and it is really catching on. Just a few days ago, we had 12,000 people register to vote in one day through the online voter registration system. The most we've ever seen. And the good thing about that is it's cut down on the number of paper applications we get, which is saving not only the state, but it saves Pickens County and every other county in the state of Georgia money, because we're having to pay to print those forms. We have to pay for the postage on those, and really worse than that, if you send a paper form in like to the Secretary of State's office, we have to then forward it to the county because the county is responsible for doing the voter registration. So we have to send it to the county, which costs money. Then the county's got to open the piece of paper, have somebody sit down at a computer, go into the VR system, and repopulate that whole form. Well, if you can't read it correctly, there's issues with that. If there's if you type like I do, you can have a typo error, which creates problems for that individual potentially on election day at the polling location. And then it seems like I'm always the one behind those people that have problems, so it holds you up. You don't have any of those issues with the online system. It pre-populates in the county's dashboard. When they log into their computer the next day, it says, hey, you got 4 new voter registration applications that need to be submitted. You pull those up, basically just review the information, hit submit, automatically generates a precinct card to be mailed. I mean, it's just a new, low-cost, streamlined way to do it. Now, you can still register all the old ways that we've always had. Get forms at your registrar's office, your library. You can download it off our website, but this is just another tool in the toolbox to do that. And I would just remind people that the voter registration deadline for the March primary, the presidential race here in Georgia, is February the 1st. So that is fast approaching. I would urge people not to wait till the last day. You can, if you're going online, you don't really have any worries if you do it on February 1st. If you do a paper application, just make sure you get the postmark dated February 1st, because that's how the cutoff is done. If we receive voter registration applications that have a postmark of February 2nd, they won't be eligible for the primary. Or the presidential primary, but they would be eligible for the May primary.
Okay, for the May primary. Okay. All right, that sounds good. Well, and based on what you're saying, it's all 159 counties. It's embedded in their system at the voting registration office.
Yeah, we've got a brand new voter registration system that we spent 2 years implementing, moving off of our old, mainframe system to a web-based system. Okay. We've got better functionality. Oh, yeah. It does a lot more things, and it's really reduced costs. I mean, we had months, especially during redistricting, we may spend anywhere from $250,000 to $400,000 a month paying for the usage on the mainframe system, because you would have every county in the state logging in, doing work, and it's kind of like your data plan on your cell phone used to be, where they charge you by the minute.
Right.
Well, that's what they're doing on the mainframe. Now in the web-based system, we pay a fee, a set monthly fee of like $60,000 a month. So that's never going to change. So it's we're saving the taxpayers a lot of money, and we got a lot better system.
Great. Planning for 2016 and beyond, what are some of the items that you and your staff have put in place to be more confident that voters' information is secure? I know that's something that came up, and there's been different statements, but I know you worked hard to. Well,
really, we have done a lot on that over the last couple of years. The recent incident we had was just human error, because we had an employee that didn't follow the policies and procedures that we had in place, and that employee has been terminated. But look, that happened on my watch. I've taken full responsibility for that. We put in procedures where that won't happen again. We now have really a quadruple check before any voter lists go out, that we have 4 different people checking it, including senior staff. So I know and confident that will never happen again. But the good thing is, outside of that unfortunate incident, we do have policies and procedures for security protocols in our office dealing with all of our systems that weren't here when I took office, back in 2010. And I'm very proud of that fact. It's unfortunate that in this instance that was not followed. But when you look at our systems, I mean, that's one of the things, we were not hacked. We've got an IT security officer in our office now that we didn't have before, and their sole job is looking at security for our agency, for our systems, and the places where our information is housed, like our voter center is in a database here in Atlanta, that when you go there, they have armed security guards. They've got, dual power coming in. They've got dual backup generators. You have some of the biggest healthcare institutions in the state that are storing medical records there, which are, there's very stringent laws on that as well. So we're in a really good place, and I feel confident that everyone's information is secure, and that this last incident we had, we now have new policies and procedures to make sure that basically, human error could not upset the way things are processed in our office.
Okay. Maybe you can send a memo on how to do that to the previous Secretary of State in Washington, because obviously she can't control her server.
Well, I think that was one of the frustrating things, and I had a lot of people say, look, at least, when this happened, at least you took ownership of it, you apologized for it, you fixed the problem, and, you terminated the employee that was responsible, and that's more than that was done with our former Secretary of State or a former official at the IRS, I believe.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and like I say, everything's about redundancy, and when you have it in place and the checks and balances work, then
right,
it's great.
I would just, while we're on that subject, I would just mention that I did not sign up for the credit monitoring, but we are offering that to anyone who is concerned. I mean, I'm confident that the personal information of the voters list did not get out, that we were able to retrieve those and document that they did not get out in any kind of public way. But if people are, to give folks peace of mind, we are offering credit monitoring through, and you have until the middle of February to sign up for that, but you just go to our website, sos.ga.gov, and it's very prevalent on the elections page and our homepage where you sign up. Very simple process if anybody's interested in that. And then we're also offering full restitution services for everybody that's on the list, and you don't have to sign up with that. So somebody, if by some chance something did get out there, which I'm confident it did not, if that does happen, people can contact us, and we've got a company, CSID, that's offering the credit monitoring that will also assign an individual to help restore someone's identity should it be compromised.
Okay, all right, great. We've all heard how important every presidential year election is. How do you see this year's race stacking up in Georgia? Well,
I think it's certainly a crucial year for us, especially, on the Republican side, which I'm a proud Republican. I personally think we need a change in the White House, and there's a lot of reasons for that. Certainly who's going to pick our Supreme Court justices is a big one of those, regardless of who the candidate is. But I think this is a huge election in Georgia because of the SEC primary. It's an idea that I had over 2 years ago to really try to give Georgia a presence in the race, have our folks voting when it really mattered, give all of our people an opportunity to weigh in on who our nominees are going to be. And we haven't always had that in the past. We've either been with other states like New York or California, and we kind of get overshadowed. We don't get visits from the candidates. If we do, it's them flying into Atlanta to do a fundraiser, and then they fly right back out. So I've been searching for a way that we could be relevant. And one of the things I decided to do this year was announce early that we were going to have our primary March 1st, one of the earliest dates you can go without getting penalized and losing delegates to the convention. But also that I was going to work with other states, our neighbors especially, to try to create a regional primary. And my thinking behind that was, if I could get 3 or 4 states to go along with us down here in the South, basically the candidates and the campaigns and the national media could not ignore us. They would have to pay attention to us. And that's exactly what's happened. We've now got Virginia, Tennessee, Alabama, Arkansas, Texas, and Oklahoma all going on March 1st. And that's kind of been dubbed the SEC primary because when this thing first started, we got Tennessee involved, we got Alabama and Arkansas to pass legislation to move their date to March 1st. And that's really when the idea of the SEC primary took off, because when you think about, Georgia football, Tennessee football, Alabama, Auburn football, and then occasionally
Razorbacks.
Yeah, certainly Arkansas. It really took shape. That kind of put us on the national map. And really since then, the national media is talking about it. We've had more presidential visits in Georgia really starting this time last year with a bunch of people coming through the Capitol here to see the legislators and the political players. And that's played out, all the way to August when we had 9 presidential candidates in Atlanta for the Red State event.
Yeah.
And they didn't just fly in for the Red State event. All of them had different events during that with their supporters or trying to line up supporters. And then some of them went across the state. Ted Cruz went to West Georgia, then down to Savannah. Mike Huckabee did an event for the 8th District Republican Party in Perry. Ben Carson's been to Augusta, had Jeb Bush in Athens. We had Rubio, Christie, and Cruz in Athens for the state Republican convention. And even on the Democratic side, Hillary Clinton's been here, Bernie Sanders has been here, Bill Clinton's coming back here in the next week or so. So we're seeing a lot of activity that we don't normally see. And that's good for us as a state because our people are going to be able to participate. They're going to be listened to. Their opinion is going to matter. But it's also going to raise awareness to issues that we have in Georgia that maybe not have been on the mind of our presidents in the past, like funding for the Port of Savannah. The state's put in our money. We're waiting on the federal money. How many great military bases we got in our state that are critical to our national security mission. Thinking about, they're all going to be flying into the busiest airport in the world, and they're going to see that we're an international city. And, there's a lot of people around the country that they think the South, I always kid people, they think the South is still plowing with mules down here. But, when they fly into Atlanta and see the great things in our state, their opinions really change. So this is going to be a good marketing tool for us as a state as well, and I think give us more influence on the national stage.
Yeah, absolutely. And to me, as we've discussed it in different areas, to me that was the most important part, was to give the people in the Southeast in the national scene awareness of what we really need and that type thing.
Well, and look, states can be the incubators for a lot of national policy. I mean, we've been balancing our budget down here. Most of the other states do it. We feel like if we can do it, the federal government ought to be able to do it. And, we've reined in spending in a lot of areas. I mean, we're certainly funding growth in areas, which we should as our state grows, and it has. But then we're also, we're banking money away, and we've got the governor's worked really hard on a hefty reserve fund, which keeps our AAA bond rating. So, there's a lot, I think, people that the next president can actually learn from the state of Georgia and some of the other states participating.
Absolutely. Well, again, I want to thank you for your time today. Thank you for being on with us, and look forward to having you up in the 9th, 14th District split there in Pickens County.
Yeah, no, that's great. Looking forward to getting back. Really appreciate it. Let us know if we can help you with anything as we move forward.
All right. Thank you, Brian.